My meditation comes from Matthew chapter 6, verses 26 and 28. Jesus said, "Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than these?" Jesus also said, "And why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed as one of these." The Buddhist poet Thich Nhat Hanh wrote something that set me to thinking about these texts, our sermons, and how they relate to the creation. Han's poem is called "If You Are a Poet." If you are a poet, you will see clearly the cloud in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. And without rain, the trees will not grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. I like that way of reading a poem, looking for a cloud in the sheet of paper. And not just the mystery of the poem itself, but the ecological constraint of the poem and the poet. We cannot make paper without clouds. So I'll share a meditation for preachers in a similar key. I call it, "If You Are a Preacher." If you are a preacher, you will see clearly there is a cloud in this sermon, a cloud in this place. Without moisture, without rain, without vegetation, pollinators, streams, birds, beavers, fish, and creatures too numerous to name, we cannot preach. Unless the stones cry out, and the mountains leap for joy, and the lion lays down with the lamb, and a little child leads them. Unless there is a cloud in this sermon, we cannot preach. Jesus said, "Consider the lilies of the field." But if there are no lilies in the field, what is left to consider? Jesus said, "See the birds above? Does not your Father in heaven care more about you than many birds?" But if there are no birds, if there is nothing to remind us of the one we cannot see, how should we know our heavenly parents care? If you are a preacher, you will see clearly the bread and the meat and the wine in this sermon. Without the grass, there is no wheat berry. And without the wheat berry, there is no flour. And without the flour, there is no yeast. And without the yeast, there is no leavened bread. And without the leavened bread, there is no remembrance, my body for you. Without the grape, there is no juice. And without fermentation, there is no wine. And without the wine, there is no chalice to lift, no proclamation, no remembrance, my blood for you. Without the grape, the chalice is empty. Without the wheat, the paten of silver, clean and no crumb, not even crumbs for the dogs. If there is no grape, if there is no wheat. If you are a preacher, you will hear clearly the low hum of the pollinator that moves somewhere in this sermon. For without the pollinator who will carry the pollen from the stamen to the stigma, without fertilization, there will be no fruit from ovary. And without fruit, there will be no birds. And without birds, there will be no song. And without song we will have no music, because we cannot make music unless we hear clearly the low murmur of pollinators in our syllables. If you are a preacher, you will see clearly the river Ribble, the moon silver on its waters. You will see the pike lurking at the bottom, long, lethal, and slender. The Atlantic salmon swimming to its birth, its death, leaving clouds and eggs nested in gravel graves. You will see clearly the waders and the mallards and the curlews above the fields. For if there is no river to make glad the city of God, there is no sermon. If you are a preacher, you will hear the lonely ache of a glacier as it calves a piece of ice 1,000 or 10,000 years old, or the faint sound of thunder from far away over the mountains. If you are a preacher, you will hear clearly in this sermon the earthquake, the wind, and the fire. But if we do not hear the earthquake, the wind, and the fire, we will neither rise nor stir. And how then will we hear the still small voice after the earthquake, the wind, and the fire in this sermon? If you are a preacher, you will see clearly the cloud in this sermon. For without cloud there is no rain. Without rain there is no pasture. Without a pasture there are no sheep. And without the sheep there is no shepherd. If you are a preacher, you feel the hunger in this sermon. For there is no bread without hunger, and there is no drink without thirst. If but one is missing, the 99 is not whole, and the shepherd cannot be glad. If the one coin out of 10 remains lost, even though the widow has 9, her house will not open, and the village will not rejoice and be glad. But if you are a preacher, you see clearly the cloud in this sermon. You see one who rejoices, one who makes glad our cities and our hearts. If you are a preacher, you will see a cloud in this sermon, and upon that cloud a shepherd. Because there are sheep, the shepherd will not be without them. If you are a preacher, and you speak of a shepherd, of lilies in the field, of birds in the air, of the lion and the lamb and the adder's den, and a little child that leads them. If you are a preacher, you will see clearly the cloud in this sermon. Thank you for listening. Until next time.